It is actually great to see that the fundamentals for this asset is increasing on a regular basis. The context of this needs to be understood clearly. On the competitor network, we are watching millions, hundreds of millions being tokenized. And that's an important aspect to look at. That means what we are watching here is not a small thing. And the idea of tokenization on the XRP ledger and trillions of dollars coming into this network is inevitable. And I'm not saying it's only going to be in XRP ledger for sure. If it's scalable, if it's frictionless, all of those networks are going to get people coming on top of it. Real world assets actually going into these are not small deals. And real world assets is a narrative which is playing out. So what do you think the price action is going to play? Yeah, for sure. You're watching this and saying like, okay, there is a lot of possibility that XRP is now doing this. We've been talking about that and we are now at that range. If we bounce off just like the last time, making that base, we would see the price going up. Great, we would like to see that. But we all understand the fact that the market is dominated by Bitcoin. So understanding the fact how Bitcoin reacted in last cycles and where we are in this cycle kind of gives us some clarity about where we are and what we can look forward, right? There are different things to learn from the market, but one of them is this. Don't forget about this. You're literally watching INJ, Bitcoin dominance on XRP. INJ has stopped out, I believe. Maybe one more small leg like this is coming, but this structure is, in my opinion, this structure is here. That means a huge move is actually coming. I'll explain. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. We've been talking about all these assets, and right now you're watching, they're up 30% for the week or like 35% for the week, but you get to see the trend changing. The assets getting cash flow is now serious. Now, for SGB, our double bottom opportunity kind of call was 2 months back. Yeah, you needed patience for sure, but now you're like 200% up, right? From that call, if you actually bought into that breakout, you could have reached there. So the SI family is taking benefit of those. So if you do see the possibility that this time around, it is kind of playing out the same manner, a similar move, say the Bitcoin dominance is slowing down, it has a possible move to the downside. At the same time, INJ is making a top. That is optimistic. But yeah, you need to see the RSI breaking to the downside. And that is where we go on looking at these different segments of the assets. You got the gaming, the smart contracts, the AI, and then the payments. You're like, at one point, all of them were at the similar range. So the end of 2022, early phase of the 2023, we saw that. And then as Bitcoin took off, we saw AI following Bitcoin to the upside. We discussed about that. We went through that. AGIX, Fetch, INJ, a lot of them. Now, what we are watching is that compared to all of them, XRP is not that bad. And yeah, it hasn't started moving up for sure. If you actually add different assets into the equation like Link, you actually will watch that some of them are starting to break higher. And as of now, you're not actually watching them trending completely lowered. They want to actually move back up. The trend is clear. You are moving to the upside. XRP got some help with the SEC court announcement coming in. The judge cleared that. But since then, it's in an accumulation mode. It did not actually grind higher. Rather, it's sideways. So who the hell is buying it in this long of an accumulation? And that is where I think things like this become huge. 300 million plus from just one institution, which is heavy on Bitcoin going into this. And as I discussed, you would remember the chief of this institution was actually giving you the idea Bitcoin is the biggest lie which you are seeing. Not lie, but the distraction of what's really happening to the real world assets. And this is one of them, which means you will actually see the price movement here for sure. You'll have to go back, look at Bitcoin, see, okay, it's still in one range and we have been there for 60 plus days. You zoom out, we're like, okay, we've seen something like this before, 200 days. Another one before, 50 days. So these kind of accumulation and a light amount of fake out to the upside, a fake out to the downside, we're watching those, right? We're watching those happening in front of us. It's not like we haven't seen them before. It is something we are watching. So you got to fake out at the upside, you got to fake out at the upside. Great, perfect. Now what's happening? You got to fake out at the downside, you got to fake out at the downside. So till that point, it's kind of clear what we are doing, right? But here, as it was till the beginning, it was just going to the upside. It went up. There was a lot of volume taking that portion. Now, think about that for a moment. When you zoom out, you kind of see like once the volume started increasing, it was close to this range of bottom. Interesting, right? Below 30,000 to 15,000, there was a lot of buying happening. Now, those people are not even selling, or maybe they are only buying a small chunk or selling a small chunk. You don't have that much amount of volume, which is kind of fine. Meaning, still the price is going up, which shows you potentially that the strength of buyers are going up. Cumulative strength, it's building on top of it, which kind of shows you the direction. But what I'm personally looking at here is like, okay, the trend is to the upside. Things are looking so kind of easy that way. And I'm like, that doesn't actually sound really good. Meaning, I've highlighted this before. If the market is showing you things so easily, then there is something wrong. Maybe the whales are preparing something. Maybe they're going to push it down. Boom. Come back down, retest that 38K level, or at least that 40,000 range. That still should be a possibility which should be kept in mind. Because the way I'm looking at this, you guys need to understand this clearly. Don't misunderstand. Because here, at this point, the price action is showing you different things. If you actually put this into a line chart, you'll have more clarity. You have this structure forming, which is fine. That's bullish pattern. So you actually remove that and understand, okay, that's happening in this range. Fine. So if you zoom inside that range, this is what the price action was building earlier today. And I was like, whoa. On a daily, you have that. And on a 4-hour, you are literally building on to this pattern. But yeah, as of now, we don't have a break to the upside. It's not confirmed yet. All those are cool. But remember, the fact that the price action is still respecting this micro range is interesting. Because now what whales can usually easily do to get more liquidity is that they will push the price up and then come back down. So some people would be stuck here. They will sell in panic as it goes down. Whales get more liquidity. And if they are able to push it below this range of support, 41,692, then they are tracking the range of 4,800, which means they can literally do this, then go back up. So those people who are going to go levered with this breakout, maybe they're going to be trapped. Now, why do I put such a narrative out there? Because I'm looking at this and saying like, okay, if the 4-hour is breaking out, but it's getting just below the daily resistance, chances are you're going to get rejected at the daily resistance. That's an interesting move. Now, keep this in mind. If the same thing happens on a macro, what would it look like? Yeah, for sure, you'll have to zoom a little bit out and see, okay, we have seen something similar before, right? We have had these kind of patterns where it was showing us that the price action is interested in making something like this, head and shoulder, inverse head and shoulder. But instead of breaking to the upside, it actually came back down to the trend line and then literally did all these choppiness. It did not actually go much higher. Then it came back down. So beware. The market is doing a lot of these things, but on a short term horizon. And that's where I'm like, okay, if you're a trader focusing on micro trades in this market, they're trying to catch you to make the liquidity. So you need to be cautious if you're doing that, especially if you have 10x, 20x levered. That's going to be painful if you don't see this coming. Whereas if you're here on a macro, at least looking last 1 year, 2 year, and you're like, okay, this is the trend which the market has been showing for some time, and I'm fine if I rely on the general trend line like this. Okay, I don't think the market is harming you a lot. This is fine whether you pitch it correctly, basing the 1, 2, 3 and going through, or you take it a little bit inside. It's still fine. You get the idea here. You're at a support, and that's actually fine. If you do bounce off, this is the trend line which you're forming. Remember, we've talked about this for a long period of time. When the market is trending higher, you will see this happening. Fine. In between, you will have these kind of movements, and that is exactly where you're trying to trade the market. That is like saying Earth is rotating like this, but then it's rotating in the galaxy like this. Yeah, that's how it actually feels. So now you need to keep your ideas clear, the thought process steady, and look at this asset and say, okay, I'm in the payments, fine. I'm not moving much, fine. But is it just the payments, and is it just XRP which is not moving? Because a lot of people, they just blatantly say like, okay guys, watch, XRP is a shit coin, it's not moving. I'm like, look at these. Cardano is a fundamental asset. Mana is a gaming asset. It had a lot of adoption, right? For that segment of metaverse, gaming, that kind of thing. But you're all in this territory. And if you go back in time, learn what happened last time, like I detailed in the group, you'd have noticed the fact that, okay, this is how things play out, and something surprising is coming. It is coming. There is no way than that, because the way you're watching how the market is moving, it is interesting. Look at the volume. 2-3 days or 2-3 weeks back, we saw the volume close to 40 billion, 50 billion. I think it was day before yesterday where I saw, like, in Binance, the volume for Bitcoin was like 7 billion, 17 billion, something like that. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of volume in just that one asset. And I was surprised. Right now, you're watching, the volume is 7 billion. So as soon as the volume starts to come back in, you will see the price breaking higher. Now, the other possibility, now you don't have giants participating, that volume is not there. If the whales, which are not the actual financial institutions, the Bitcoin whales, if they would like to do something, whether to the upside or downside, now is the best time. They're not competing with some of these organizations, the giants, which is not available on the weekend, which kind of create more opportunity for these guys. So watch what the price action is actually showing you, right? It is really important to look at the volume versus the price. In yesterday's video, we discussed about that possibility, and right now, it seems like what we stated in the last video is true, right? You got the volume and the price didn't move up, the volume was negative. What is happening as of now? The daily candle, yes, it's been just like a couple of hours, but a little bit of volume is able to push the price up. That's interesting to watch. That's interesting, because compared to the recent negative volume, you don't have much here. Still, the bulls are pushing it higher. So it shows like, okay, the impulsive move is to the upside here. Look at the price structure. Till this point, it was kind of okay. At one point, you got some selling pressure, and it was like, okay, sellers are trying to dominate that leg, and they did dominate till this point. after which sellers started becoming weaker and bulls started having some strength, momentum, which means now you're still fighting in that range. You came back into the range. Why wouldn't we come up to test 45K? That also is a strong point because the price action is showing you a lot of different things. But the red flag should be kept in mind. If you are to go for a highly levered trade, I would argue that you need to keep these things in mind. Yes, the chart shows you the fact that we are here and we have seen these things before. Are we going this way? Maybe we are. But then it's more like the market is being so easy, it's being so predictable. That's not how the markets work, right? So I'm like, okay, are they leading us into a trap? If so, you go back, learn from the history. Okay, if that's the case, we're entering into this phase. We are to do this run up here. You're not talking about then 100 or 200,000 Bitcoin. You're talking about like 60,000, topping off close to 65, 70 max, right? Depends on the volume and the pump here. If you get stuck by 52, 55, you may not even see an all-time high at that point. So you are literally looking at whatever you can, and this is the time where you need to put your personal cognitive ability, looking through all the different possibilities and look for which one of those has the highest odds, or at least what does the chart show you. Does the chart agree on the fact that the sentiment is now shifting to the downside with the momentum turning to the downside? I would argue that. Think, here you got like 3 red candles and 1 bullish candle erased all of them. Whereas after that, you got 1 bearish candle erasing all of these fluctuation, and it's now taking 3 bullish candle to come even to half of that range. So the bears and bulls, when you compare the strength, bulls are weak or bears are strong, or money is moving out of Bitcoin. That's where the point which I just raised becomes more and more valid. Last time you saw this, the price was back in Jan Feb 2021 when we were watching that. The trend, the momentum which was shifting, you were literally getting a rejection. You were literally getting a reversal. So that time you saw some of these different segments in the market topping off. So you had huge opportunity to position yourself into. Maybe you are a gaming guy. You now have a lot of opportunity because this is where you are. Great. You have a long way to ride. Maybe you're completely in payments. Maybe you're in smart contracts. But these segments has not done anything yet. And you would be frustrated if you were just in this asset. If you had never traded the AI segment, maybe it's AGIX, the Fetch, the Woo. If you didn't saw any of them going up, yes, you are frustrated. And that's primarily why in the SI family, we go through all of them. We give you guys these breakout calls, the opportunities. So for them who need learning positions, who need to understand what the market is doing, what's the pattern, what's the odds, yeah, being in a group like this and educating yourself helps a lot. And that's one of the primary reasons why we try to give you more of an educative perspective. You need to know what's happening. Not just getting a chart like this will help. You need to know what your targets are. You need to know where the breakout is coming. You need to understand whether that's an opportunity or it's something worse. Because as I've highlighted, it was a double bottom. And right now, looking 2 months back, it proves that, yeah, that was a right call. It was a double bottom. You broke higher, you went up, the RSI did not cheat us. So I'm like, okay, it's been like 12 months where the market is becoming so much more predictable. There is something into it. That's why we all need to think, okay, we are not going 100% aggressive here. We need to be defensively aggressive. I don't think this is the time to be defensive, but this is the time to be defensively aggressive. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.